Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk specifically about Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition and the Dungeons and Dragons world, the Faerun world, as a source for truth and comfort. So I'm really interested in this, and so let's talk about this. So first of all, why would there be a need for truth, for a source of truth and comfort, right? It's a really interesting question as far as like what is the source of truth, what is the source of comfort in our lives, right? So I think if you're a muggle, if you don't play Dungeons and Dragons, you are going to be in a situation where you are going to expect your truth and your comfort to come from the IRL world, right? And many people are blessed to have sources of truth and comfort in their lives, but many are not, right? Now, everybody listening to this channel, you ain't muggles, right? You're the magical kind, right? You play Dungeons and Dragons. And you don't function as a normal human being, right? Like you are no longer a standard muggle person. You are incredibly special, right? So, first of all, if you're a dungeon master, you make, break, shake, take, remake worlds, right? Worlds are a commodity to you. You have the IRL world, you have Faerun, you have your own custom world, you have Eberron. You choose the world you live in, right? Like, and you don't even need your group there to live in a different world. You could do work on any of your worlds at any time. If you're a player, you have multiple identities in your head, multiple sets of memories in your mind, multiple sets of emotions in your heart. You're not a normal human anymore, right? You have lived multiple lives, and the ramifications that are absolutely astounding, right? It's truly incredible. Again, the more I think on it, the idea that Dungeons and Dragons is a game seems so utterly ludicrous, right? It remaps our hearts, our minds, our souls, right? We no longer function as normal human beings. We're something beyond, something new, right? Like 100 years ago, there weren't people who had 20 identities in themselves, right? And identities where they had made decisions in those identities. People had read books and things like that, but their experience was similar to what other people have read those books, right? They had never had worlds crafted for them to live in, right? So I've been thinking a lot about this idea of Dungeons and Dragons, and specifically, living. Where is what is the world that supplies our source of truth and comfort, right? Well, I listened to a fantastic news source. It's called Slate. They do podcasts, and they did a podcast recently, and they talked about how right now in America, vaccine hesitancy is growing into outright vaccine resistance, and not in small numbers. I could not believe the facts they were putting on the ground. They said 100 million people in America are not vaccinated. I was like, what? Like, and this is in July of 2021. I was astounded, right? The number of people who are not vaccinated it is not even remotely small. It is quite large. The other thing they said was that a lot of people were upset that they said a distinct number of people were upset because minors, people under 18, had been informed by a specific state in America, where local officials had sent out reports saying if you're a minor and you want to get vaxxed, you do not need permission from your parents. Come on out and get vaxxed, right? And minors had taken them up on this, and this absolutely shocked and horrified people in those areas. Their comfort was gone when they realized that they did not have control of the medicines their children would receive, right? And people were fired over this. It was local officials ended up losing their jobs over this, right? So the other thing they said was that there's this huge growing vaccine, what used to be a vaccine hesitancy is now coming vaccine resistance, right? And that right-wing politicians are gaining massive ground by using terms like the Fauci ouchie for for the vaccine shot, and just making it incredibly political, right? And so people don't know. So it's clear that people don't really have a source of truth, and they don't have a source of comfort in this IRL world, right? But when those same people, right, if they choose to go into the D&D world, into Faerun, and they ask a question, if their player character says, I want to determine if this statement that this NPC has given me is true or false, they're going to roll there's a deception, there's a resist deception roll, there's an insight roll to see if they are if they can perceive correctly. And if they roll a 20, the dungeon master can go, you rolled a 20, and everybody at the table laughs, and you say, you know that person's telling you the truth. That does not exist in this world, right? We have this world where we can be assured of truth, right? Like, if you're a Dungeons & Dragons player, you have a world you can live in where you're assured of truth, right? It's incredible. Like, and it doesn't exist in the IRL. You can't make an insight check in the IRL, right? And it's just astounding. And then the other thing is comfort, right? When people are going into Faerun, they know their powers. The powers are on their list, right? And they can be confident that they can slay the beasts that they encounter. But in this world, the comfort isn't there, right? So one of the things is, like, we've often wondered, there's this whole discussion about, well, what are people getting from Dungeons & Dragons? And the idea that, and I hear it constantly from D&D commentators, they're like, why are people getting upset? This is just a game, right? No, it is so much more than a game. Increasingly, I think people are saying, this is a world where I can live for a small bit of time, and in that time, truth is truth and comfort is comfort. And I know the rules, and I can succeed and win. And the idea that you are going to say, that's nothing, it's simply a game, seems so ludicrous and laughable to me, right? And so we as Dungeon Masters, we must understand how important this world is to them, and be very, very careful as we proceed. It's incredibly important that we honor people's time, that we understand the emotions and the little intellectual investment that is happening in these worlds, right? And honestly, I'll tell you, I think they're more important than ever. They're more important than ever when people are frightened about what's happening with their children, when people are frightened. I'm not even saying they're right or wrong to be frightened. I'm saying they are frightened, right? By the way, I'm making I'm not saying right or wrong about anything on the vaccine level. By the way, I'm fully vaxxed, and my entire family is fully vaxxed, right? Just to put that out there. But I very much understand this idea of fear being connected to these things. There are, marginalized groups who when they look at vaccines, they don't even have the same, they don't have the same assurances we do, right? Because they have been, it's not debated. They've been used as guinea pigs in the past. It's like, it's incredible. So the fears are real. So having a world where truth is solid and where comfort is guaranteed, right? Pretty much guaranteed, or far more guaranteed than the real world, is very important. We as Dungeon Masters cannot for 1 second forget how important what we are doing is, and how this truly, truly will very much impact and affect the players who are at our tables. And we must be incredibly careful as we persist that what we're doing is valuing people's time. All that is my opinion. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, right? What are your thoughts on the idea that the world we are presenting, Faerun, for many people is a very, very real IRL source of truth and comfort? And what responsibilities does that give us as Dungeon Masters once we understand that reality? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.